Cable ready? 7:30, let's call the meeting to order. It's the Scituate Planning Board meeting for April 9th, 2015. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No changes to the agenda. The first item is the public hearing, Scenic Road east of 255 Thomas Clap Road, Open Field, Crosby Preserve. We have the distinguished Mr. Snow.
That's a stretch. Good evening.
Trying to set a positive tone.
Frank Snow, the Scituate Conservation Commission. What we're requesting is to remove two sections of stone wall on Thomas Clap Road. One of them is to create an access drive to and a parking area that would allow access into the currently or recently acquired Crosby property. And that will also continue on into the Appleton Field piece of property. The second opening is a small parking area sort of east of that opening, the thought being that we might have a gate at the main entrance because the parking lot is sort of remote. So we might find that we need a gate there, and then people could park 2 or 3 cars at Clap Road when say the road was gated. So it just gives a little flexibility in the use of that piece of property. What we, sort of the background to that is when the town acquired the Crosby parcel, the road that goes into Appleton Field and that goes into the Crosby parcel is a small cart path, and it was right adjacent to a piece of a home that the Crosby family owned, like literally 10 feet off that house. And with more traffic, with more public use of that property, it just didn't seem appropriate. That was one of the conditions that the Crosbys requested when they agreed to sell the property to the town, was that we have our own access. And so it's been before the commission for wetlands crossing. That piece has been approved. There really was no other place to put this access. So that's where we're at.
What are you going to do? You're going to cut the wall?
Remove the wall. It doesn't show it on this plan, but we've talked a little bit. We'll take some of the stones from the wall and flare it, make a little nicer entrance, and then go in with a gravel road to the back part of the property.
Okay. Laura, you have comments?
No, it actually didn't even look like the stone wall was in the town road layout, so it didn't seem 100% necessary to have the scenic road public hearing, but Frank thinks that the wall is the barrier, is the boundary.
Well, now technically the town owns both sides of it, so I can...
Yeah, well, now they do. But anyhow, it doesn't seem like that there's any problem at all, and the access is a good thing, and the parking, I think, is going to be a really good thing.
We encourage other town departments to come before the commission when they think they might not need to, so we don't think we should not do that.
Okay.
Reciprocate.
Yeah.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Benny?
Vinnie Bucher, I'm the gentleman that has a license to farm the Appleton property, and I've been restoring it over 10 years now. And I don't have a problem with the opening to the wall at all. But my concern is that I don't see a plan that shows the right-of-way to the field, and that concerns me. I told Frank this at the Conservation Commission meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to know why it's not on the plan.
Okay.
I mean, as far as the CPC application goes, right from the get-go, they talked about replacing the right-of-way with the acquisition, and I'm all for that. That's fine. And in the CPC application, it even shows where the family chose to put the right-of-way along the rock wall going all the way up to the field. And it said in the form that the family chose to put it there. And I don't know why it's not on the plan.
Address it, Fred?
Sure. What we filed for, the plan that you see is the filing that we did for a wetlands crossing and a parking area. And then there's a small line that just shows a potential road heading towards Appleton Field. For whatever reason, and I think a lot of the storms and whatnot, we had gotten a proposal from Morse Engineering. Morse Engineering is the surveying firm that surveyed the Crosby parcel, and they're also the firm that did the wetlands filing for this piece. So we went back to them and asked them to prepare a plan to show the extension of the road into Appleton Field, as well as put together a bid package for this access, as well as parking and access in other spots. And that went to the town in January, early January, and then one storm after another. There was a little bit of confusion on the part of the administration as to just what we were doing, and it got sort of bogged down. So just about a week ago, the town administrator signed those agreements, and they're going to get started on the design for the rest of the access into Appleton. So they're definitely...
There will be a drawing with the right-of-way shown.
Yep.
When will that be available, Frank?
When will
The plan be available?
they just got the approval to
Right.
draw it, so they're going to start working this week, so
What do you think?
could, hopefully less than a month. They've agreed to move it along as fast as possible, but we should have it soon. We're very anxious to get it
Yeah.
going. So that's where we're
Any
at.
other comments from the board? Motion from the board?
There's
So-
nothing on there about the ends if you want to add. The flip that ends flaring around in that system.
I move that the planning board vote to approve the removal of approximately 2 20-foot sections of a stone wall for gravel access road and gravel parking for the Scituate Conservation Commission for conservation property. No trees or saplings greater than 3 inches will be removed, and the stones taken from the wall, the existing wall, will be used to clear out the driveways.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Great.
Laura asked me maybe to spend a couple of minutes and just talk about some of our projects with open space. If you have a couple more minutes, we'll...
It's okay with Cindy. Is it okay, Cindy?
And actually, Cindy, Cindy Robbins from Maxwell Trust is the keeper of these maps and was good enough to prepare all this tonight, and good enough to come.
That'd be good.
And she can answer when I get stumped or when somebody asks me something pretty simple, she can jump in. So what we're trying to do, in addition to the proposal that we did for the access to this piece, we're also looking to create a new parking area off of Bates's Lane. So the piece that you just approved is going into the Crosby parcel and the Appleton parcel, and that'll go in here. If I can help a little bit. This is Bates Lane. Most of you are familiar with Bates Lane. So Clap Road, the Crosby piece. So we'll have a nice parking area and access to all this land. And then this is the South Swamp. So once folks get into here, we'll have some nice trails that work through. There are already cart paths that are on the Crosby property. It'll just be a matter of cleaning those up, and we might do a little bit of handicap access at that parking area so someone could venture towards the woods a little bit, or into the woods a little bit, like with that. And it will also give Vin, I think, better access into the Appleton field as well. Bates Lane is an old way that goes up and over towards Cohasset. It ends in Indian Winds. And there hasn't been any parking along there. when the town acquired some of these pieces, I had a piece of property across the street, and I've let the town use it for parking, so folks can park there and then walk across Clap Road and up Bates Lane. A home was built on Bates Lane a couple of years ago, and so now we feel that it would work out to build a parking area up in here, and I've spent time with the police and fire, DPW, and we think we can build a parking lot for maybe 10 or 12 cars partway up Bates Lane. We've met with the couple of neighbors that abut here, and though not everybody's totally thrilled, at one point this was a Toll Brothers subdivision plan, so the alternative would have been a lot more traffic than the folks that are going into here. And then again, we'll make part of Bates Lane handicap accessible, and get some kiosk and information in there. So it'll be nice. There's another access right now into this parcel at Mount Hope, and that will remain. And there's a kiosk here, so folks can make a nice loop in that piece. We also acquired 2 years ago the Higgins-McAllister property, which is over here, and there's a road that comes in here, Hollycrest, and it's a dirt road. And what we'd like to do is create a small parking area there, and then that way folks can make a loop or explore another area. And the idea is the town's paid a lot of money for this property, and so we want to find some different access points, some trailheads. We've got some volunteer groups that would like to help with trails. We've had some scouts that, for Eagle Scout projects, have developed some trails. So this will be the piece off of Hollycrest that will be part of that construction. So a parking lot here. And when I say a parking lot, we're talking a gravel area for 10 or 12 cars. This isn't a big spot. The nice part here is Hollycrest is already has houses along it, so that parking lot will be right at the end. You know, one of the concerns for the police and fire was would there be some vandalism, or would it be hard to control any issues there, and we think that they're comfortable with that. The other area that we're going to put a parking area in is the Damon piece. Is the piece we acquired last year. And right now, again, there's some cart paths that move around that property, sort of overgrown. And so with that access off Clap Road, we're going to come in with a drive and a small parking area here. I mean, the town doesn't, no one really knows for certain who owns some of these parcels, but this is really a wonderful piece of property. I spent some time in there this winter on snowshoes, and it's pretty back in the woods. So that'll be another parking area that we're going to create. And then this is some access off of Summer Street, and that's where the, I think it's Fury is going to build those duplex units. And one of the agreements on that piece is that there'll be access. I'm not so sure that there's much parking there. It'll be a trail that goes to the end of the road, but again, people could be hiking and loop around. And
Similar to what we did on Elm Street.
yes, yep. So it's gonna make some nice access to all these spots, and hopefully get folks out there. We're gonna do more with trail markings and maps, with the hope that we'll encourage folks to use this more frequently.
CPC funded the parking?
So when we acquired the property, we added money at that time for the surveying and the parking and all those things. So that's already built into the purchase, when we purchased it. And the hope was, it just has taken a long time. It took a long time to pass on the Crosby piece. There was some land court issues, there was some property line issues, and we had sort of thought that 2 years ago we'd be doing this, and sort of roll all these parkings into one bid. Hopefully, with the economy of scale, we get a little better bang for our buck. So that's where we're at. Like to add anything?
Did you cover everything, Cindy?
You covered everything. I think, just for perspective, it might help you to know that since CPC was voted in, we've bought 380 acres. So you started out with about 90 in the West End, and now that you've added Crosby and Damon between that whole Bates Lane and Clap Road area, that's 450 acres.
So not only did we buy it, we bought it at a bargain price.
Yes.
Well, we don't want to let that information out too much. We think we paid.
I think it's quite an accomplishment for the town.
Well, thanks to
Yeah.
Maxwell Trust.
Who managed the property? In other words, I mean, I look at the Ellis Estate, and there's all kinds of down trees and brush, and it's really a disaster and a forest fire waiting to happen. And the same thing might happen with all of the 400 and some odd acres that you have. Is there a management plan to have someone go in and clear the brush and make the place more livable for animals and what have you?
Well, what we've done, and quite honestly, there's been a lot of transition in it'll be under the care and custody of Conservation Commission.
But will they care for it? And by that I mean, take the dead wood out.
Well, everybody's got a different version of what should be removed and what should stay. My hope is that with acquiring this, that we're going to get a forestry program for these woods, and we would manage it for habitat. We could harvest some wood for different purposes. I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping the trails clear. We've got some volunteers in the different places. There's some folks that use Ellis regularly, and they will email or call in with some issues and try to keep the trails open. They took a beating this winter. I mean...
Everything took a beating this winter.
There was a Scout Life badge. This fellow just did the little parking area. Garrett Sheff just did the parking area in the fall right off of Manlot Road. And he did a beautiful job cleaning that up, and Mike Breen dropped some gravel, and they spread that around, and then they had a little bit of time, so they went to the other parking area that goes into the Ellis estate and did some trash cleanup and whatnot there. It is a problem, Ann. You know, in all of our areas, even the Driftway, there's a lot of people that use it, and sadly, not everybody respects it. You know, we do our best to get some signage up. We've asked the police to make sure that people aren't in the parking lot after sunset as best that they can do. You know, that's one of the concerns we have as to where we locate these and how we keep an eye on them. And we've had, there was a Facebook group that came to a commission meeting in the fall, and they've expressed interest in working with the commission as well. It'll be a lot of volunteers. We don't have a big budget for that. Like probably yourselves, our budget was
Slashed.
trimmed. So, but Vin and I went, Vinny brought to my attention, and he and I went in the fall to a DCR convention showing what they would do with out in West.
Yeah.
And it was really,
it
was wonderful.
Yeah.
And they fell, oh, go ahead.
No, it was great. They had a great management program. They showed how a community farm could be incorporated with the town and manage their properties out in Weston to the benefit of everybody.
Well, I will tell you that EDC is, one of the members is working on this aspect in terms of, you know, the trails, making everything more accessible and marketing it so that we get people to use them, but also look into, as you say, forestry, et cetera. So we are, EDC is looking at that.
What Vin and I saw there, which I thought made a lot of sense, is that they would use professionals to fell, get a forester, go out, take a look at it, evaluate different stands, decide what trees should be harvested, have a professional actually fell the trees and cut them up, and then from there, volunteers would go in and split the wood, stack it. They could get their own firewood at a reduced rate, and then other wood could be sold, which would hopefully help pay for the program. We also want to harvest, there's a few red pine stands, and the red pines didn't really grow very well on the Crosby piece, and my goal is, over a period of time, to get those cut entirely and create some emerging growth forest. One of the things that we see today is a lot of deer and turkeys and a different type of animal that were in the woods when I was a boy out here, 30, 40 years ago. There was grouse and quail and rabbits and fox, and that's changed, and it's primarily changed because of the forest and the makeup of the forest. And so the trustees did it up on what's the hill? Turkey Hill. And they cleared a good-sized area, and I'd like to try that in a couple spots. We already had a little spot off at Maple Street where someone inadvertently cleared a piece of town land when they were clearing their own spot, and rather than make them plant it back, we actually worked out another thing and had them clear an area with their environmental consultant, and we're going to see how that works.
Well, that was my purpose in the question, and thank you, you've answered it.
So, well,
Thank you.
we're going to keep trying.
Good.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Vinnie,
Thank you.
come in. Next item is at 8 o'clock, so we've got plenty of time here. We need counting in minutes? Okay.
So, Bill, when I retire from my chairman's job on Concom, I just want to work on the Woods projects.
Just come across the hall.
That's all right?
We'll find a job for you.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you you can't retire? A one-way door.
Thank you.
Did you build seawalls?
Out of oak trees.
Yeah, that'll work.
Move $2,470 to the Merrill Corporation for engineering.
It was for 529, 531 Country Way.
529 to 531 Country Way.
Want to do them all?
Do them all?
Do them all? Okay. It's been a while. Move $139.97 for binding and printing envelopes, J&R Graphics. Move $108.54 for legal ad in the Scituate Mariner on 226 and 35 for 44 Rebecca Road accessory dwelling special permit to Gatehouse Media. And finally, $33.99 for office supplies to WB Mason Company, Inc.
I braid ribbons.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Planners report?
Okay. Let's see. Let's start. I guess maybe we can merge that in with town meeting.
Okay, I don't know if we got enough time in 6 minutes to do that.
Just need 3?
Yep.
Well, I can go over a couple of things. We've had a couple of drainage issues. The most significant one was at the Inley School where they put that fence. They cleared out the spruces that were back there, and there was some, then they put the hay bales, and they haven't loamed and seeded because you can't loam and seed now. So there's a lot of exposed soil back there, no trees anymore, hay bales, stormwater running along the hay bales, and some silt did kind of blow through the hay bales and onto an abutter's property who was downgrade. So I called Mrs. Luther. I actually emailed Mrs. Luther, who's the head of the school, and she's getting the engineers to get on it before they put that fence in, because once you put the fence in, it's going to cut off the area where some of the problem is. So I think that's being taken care of, but we're going to keep our eye on that over the next couple of days.
This is where they were putting the new field in? that whole area?
Yeah, they were regrading for the field.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of grading going on back there, and hopefully they can really fit everything they need to and maybe put some kind of a swale up there.
Mhm.
But I think they need to do more, and they need to stabilize that soil so it doesn't, erode down.
But they had it, didn't they have a collection swale or something that was going to
Yeah, down to the corner.
a culvert?
Yeah, I think none of that's finished yet.
Oh,
And there's a lot of soil exposed up there, so whatever they've got, it's not quite working properly right now. So I think that's one of the big things that we've had recently, and yeah.
Okay. Which brings us right to a couple minutes before 8. I'm going to call it 8 o'clock. The next item on the agenda is a Form A for 35 Greenwald Road. The applicant, the owner, is the Susan Pippin Trust. What you're setting up, I got a statement. I got to recluse myself from this. I am a member of the board and treasurer for one of the benefits of one of the trusts. Trust.
okay.
Make it?
All right.
I do too.
All right. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you're here requesting?
My name is Jeff Bassett. I'm a civil engineer with Morse Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the Susan A. Pippin Trust. We have filed a Form A A&R subdivision dividing this property into 4 lots. 2 of the lots require a special permit from the ZBA for 50-foot frontage lots, which have been approved. The lot lines have been configured in a way that the existing house and outbuildings can remain. There is a wetland on the property located at the front that we've had delineated by the wetland scientist, and we're specifying an easement area that will be a future common driveway that will be in front of your commission in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay, Laura?
It's a Form A plan. The 50-foot frontage lots were approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals. There's a small sliver of land in between the 2 50-foot frontage lots so that one of them is separated and doesn't need to be off the same common driveway. The wetlands lines haven't been approved by the Conservation Commission yet. We received kind of a cryptic memo from the conservation agent, which I don't know if we got around to you all because it just came in today and he just kind of scribbled it out. But he thinks that there may be a vernal pool on the property, and that's not shown on the plan. So what I had proposed was that the plan be endorsed, but that we hang on to it until the wetlands can be confirmed, and whoever is buying these lots knows what they're getting in terms of wetland and upland, and what area is going to be subject to conservation jurisdiction. So
Meaning we'll get an updated plan with if the wetlands change?
No, just that, yeah, we will at the end of, the process, I guess, before it's taken to be recorded, we'll ask them to do that. And you could hold off endorsement, but the problem is you've got a 21-day time frame, so that's kind of tough to do. So what we were proposing to do was to just hang on to the plan until the Concom had approved that line, and then after it's been approved, if we can get it, put on the plan. There was some indication that they wanted to sell off Lot 1 separately. That is a 50-foot frontage lot. As far as I'm aware, they haven't recorded the special permit yet for that lot. So, that's something that, I think we want to make sure that gets recorded. But if they need to sell Lot 1 before all this wetlands work can be done, it can probably be put on another plan and brought in if they really want to do that. So, so there's a couple of options. anything else. I think that's basically it. There might have been one or two other small things on here. So,
Okay.
The vernal pool that may occur on this land, is it within the wetlands boundary that we see here?
I don't know. It'll have a different setback,
Right, I
different
understand
area
that. I'm
jurisdiction.
just trying
So, no, Patrick
Guess it where it might,
Patrick didn't give any information on that. I mean, I think it's pretty likely because, the water, having to settle somewhere, you think it would be, down in that area, but I don't know.
and that's 125-foot no disturb?
It's, I believe it's 250 feet of jurisdiction. Do you know, Jeff? And
I'd have to look into it.
125, I believe it's 125 no disturb.
This is the first I've heard that there is a potential vernal pool in there. There is not a vernal pool shown on the Natural Heritage Map. If there was a vernal pool, yes, it would be within the limits of the wetland, of the BBW.
Yeah,
And we'll address that with the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
yeah, I didn't have a chance to get that information to you where it came from Pat. I was kind of expecting maybe he would let you know, but,
So to the extent that this, if we approve this and hold on to it, can we change it before can it be changed before it gets signed? If the
Well,
boundaries change?
I don't think the lot line boundaries are going to change. I think it's just going to be the wetlands area. And I think the main thing that you're approving when you endorse the plan is the frontage and the access. The access is going to be over that common driveway. That's why we were suggesting holding onto the plan until the common driveway is approved. But the frontage, I don't think is going to change, so I don't think there'd really be a problem with that.
And there's no chance this common driveway could be interfered with by the vernal pool?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we could work that into the motion. I think the motion refers to the common driveway, being approved as shown on the plan. If that's not the case, then they have to go back to square one, and, we wouldn't let the plan go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments? Yeah.
This is a little iffy. There are a lot of, I know that an A&R approval not required, that's basically what we're here for, doesn't necessarily have to meet zoning.
No, it doesn't have to meet zoning.
They have-
But that's another reason to hang on to the plan and find out what the upland area is. I think the upland area, yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, this is what they're saying
Right.
is based on these wetlands lines.
Right.
It's
the
they've got a lot of
access.
margin for error.
I understand, but a lot of it is about access.
Yep, that's right.
And access, there's no access here to this lot, and there's no access to that lot. So in that sense, but again, it doesn't, we don't have to, we can endorse it, doesn't necessarily meet zoning.
No, well, to address what I think your question is about the access, what some of the law cases have come down with is that as long as there's some access to a buildable portion of the lot, that a plan can be endorsed. So even though back in the day, it used to be if there was wetlands across the frontage that, a planning board could not endorse a plan. But there's been some cases where if there's access to the buildable portion of the lot, even though it's not over the frontage, that, a planning board can endorse a plan, that's acceptable. So, since the common driveway isn't approved, it does put it in some degree of limbo, and that's why I am suggesting that you want to hang on to it until that common driveway is approved, because that's really what's giving you the access to the back part of the lot. It's not, it's not accessible across the frontage.
All right.
Is that too much information?
No,
or
it's
enough?
not. It's
Okay.
just a little bit fuzzy in that why would we not ask the applicant to withdraw this A&R without prejudice and come back with it once they have figured out where their common driveway is going to be? Why would we not do that? I know that when it comes before us, we have 21 days in which to approve it, or it's automatically approved. Holding on to something that we've already endorsed, I'm not so sure about.
You don't have to do that, but they are showing you where that they've, in fact, we went back and forth over the location of the access easement, and they do have that on the plan. Maybe you
Where is that?
want to address this?
Yeah, I really don't foresee the driveway location moving because we're coming in over the existing driveway, and it's really as far away from the wetland as it can be. It's over an existing paved driveway within the buffer zone to the wetland here. And then it comes in over the driveway, it takes a right-hand turn and goes this way. The wetland itself is a very easy delineation. It's right at the bottom of the slope. I don't see that changing. And the wetland scientists that we use usually would pick up on if there was a vernal pool here or not. And he was not aware of that. So I really don't see that change, see the driveway changing. If it does, I think Laura's concern, Laura's idea of holding onto the plan works. My only concern with holding onto the plan would be whether the FIP and trust finds a buyer for Lot 1 who wants to close before the end of the common driveway process. And again, Laura's idea that we could come back for a separate Form A just for Lot 1 would be acceptable too. So I think holding onto the plan is the best way to keep the project moving.
I mean, you certainly don't have to go with that if you're not comfortable with it.
I would be far more comfortable with a Form A on Lot 1 and hold the other 3 lots in abeyance until such time as things have been better defined. So, I mean, I would suggest that the plan as it exists now be withdrawn, and that you come back with a Form A for Lot 1 while you're working on the rest of it. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
John? Any comments?
No, I mean, I was trying to, with where the common driveway accesses are, that's what I was trying to figure out, is where is it all going? So, it was only once it was explained that I could kind of see it. It wasn't all that straightforward before.
And that's the 100-foot setback line right there.
Yeah,
right?
I saw that.
So,
Yeah, on the original submittal of this plan, the easement areas encompassed the entire front of the
It
properties.
says easement.
And,
area, it's coming
Okay.
through.
Based on Laura's
I see that,
recommendation
but
to really
again,
minimize the area of that easement,
Yeah.
we did that, we reduced the size. So now, this portion of Lot 4 used to be easement, now it's not. Same with Lot 3, this portion was part of the easement, we removed it from the easement.
But there is this, correct me if I'm wrong, this strip of easement that goes down in Lot 3.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's for the drainage,
Okay, and that was, yeah.
yeah.
So what this is showing is somewhere to be determined within those boundaries called the common driveway access easement is going to actually be located, the common driveway?
Exactly, and that's been fully designed and it's been submitted to you. Hearing for the next hearing.
And
it's been
whatever.
fully designed, including the,
It's not the next hearing, it's actually going to be in May.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Do you have that plan with you?
No, I didn't. I thought we were only talking about the Form A this evening, so I didn't bring it.
Okay. Maybe when we get one of these again, we'll try to distribute everything so everyone can see, how
Yeah,
these
just-
things interrelate.
Just to put it in context, it would be helpful, it seems to me. And should anything change regarding the wetlands or vernal pool setbacks that were,
It's a really good idea. Karen's going to go and get the common.
oh, good,
driveway.
okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I do have one. Karen, I have one.
Okay.
sure it's the most recent. Yeah.
Let's hold it that way a little bit so everybody can see.
So this is the location of the existing driveway. It comes in. We're going to hold that area of the driveway, come in at 16 feet wide. When it goes down, it only serves 2 houses, where it'll go down to 14 feet wide with you require a 30 by 20 hammerhead turnaround. The fire department actually asked for 45, so we're doing 20 by 45 instead. And that's your driveway easement. This is your current tree line. We're doing 2 small rain gardens within an area that's currently lawn, and we've designed those in a way that we can keep as many trees as possible. Right now, this is a lawn with trees in the front yard, maples and cedars.
So it looks like we have drainage basins in the 50-foot setback.
Yeah, the Conservation Commission typically allows that when it's within an area of existing lawn. We're essentially digging a depression in an area that's lawn and then planting it with a wetland species, so it creates a nice habitat.
It's probably still all dependent on where this vernal pool is, or if it is, right? Because if you do 125-foot no disturb, you're outside even the 100-foot, if it's in here, right?
Well, depending on how close it is to the edge of the wetland.
That's what I mean. We don't know.
And if it changed the project and the drive, easement hadn't changed, we can come back to you with the A&R plan.
Thanks. I mean, it seems to me that this is not harmful, or it's not reckless of the board to approve the plan as it's drawn and prevent the redrawing of it with the cost and time penalties. If in fact something changes materially that forces a change in either this plan or the driveway plan that we're going to see in May, that will happen, and it will need to be refiled at that time. But until and unless, then it seems a little bit unnecessary to create more work and add time to the process when, the end result is frankly for the benefit of the town. So I'd be inclined to approve this, and as Laura said, hang on to it until we find out if there are other constraints that may affect it to the point where it changes.
I would be okay with that if we can hold on to it till the whole wetland thing has been confirmed one way or the other, then we have definitive boundaries.
When we hang on to plans this way, they're kept in the safe in the treasurer's office. They're not,
Well, they
or
won't be
anybody
signed by
can
anybody,
see
right?
them, or, well, they would be signed by you, but that's usually what we've done. But they're kept locked away, so, no one can even see them.
And they're not recorded, right?
No, they're not recorded.
Right.
And if the wetland changes, they'll come back?
They'd have to come back, because...
Then we have a plan, Bernie.
it's-
Yeah, that's, as long as we have the ability to control that, then I'd be okay with it. What do you think, Ed?
Well, I'm somewhat overruled. I still think, money notwithstanding, that if we hold on to, if we sign it and hold on to it, and it all changes, then they have to do it again, as opposed to withdrawing it and doing it once. That's, if you all feel that this
Well, if
works.
it doesn't change, then they don't have to do anything, right?
Right.
And that's kind of the trade-off we're making here. Bob?
I said my piece.
No, I think, again, the money aspect I hadn't thought about, but I think if the vernal pool and the wetlands does change some aspect of it, of this or the driveway, we're gonna see the plans change. So I don't have a problem approving it and holding on to it, knowing that, yeah, whatever information is, if it changes and things need to be updated, they'll need to be updated.
Okay, any comments from the public? Yes.
Maureen Hurley, I am, and Kim, we're here as the trustees of the Susan Pippin Trust. I'm just curious, are you, for the first time I heard anything about a vernal pool, because I know there was a wetland scientist that worked for Greg Morris that actually flagged the wetlands. So I hadn't, is that a new comment that came from the conservation?
Yes,
From the
Okay, it was
conservation
today?
agent.
yes.
Okay. I know I did get a phone call about they were going to do an advertisement for their hearing, so I'm not sure when that is yet, but I had a phone call when I got back to my office today on that. So are you saying that you want to endorse the 4 lots, but hold on to it and not record it until you're certain that there is no vernal pool?
I think it's getting the whole wetlands line confirmed and also getting the common driveway decision.
And we would probably hold on to it anyways until we had all of the approvals.
Okay.
Because, you know, a lot line could change as part of the common driveway. So
Okay.
why put it on record before, until we
Okay.
know it's certain?
I think it's also great for people buying property when everything's recorded together. They can just, find everything easily and their title attorneys have an easier job.
And Jeff, would the lot that is not subject to the common driveway, I know there was a talk about perhaps just approving that. Would that possibly change also?
If we found a buyer for Lot 1 who wanted to close before we finished the common driveway process, we would have to submit another A&R plan for just Lot 1, and they would have 21 days to act on that.
Okay. So it's not possible to just approve the one A&R from this plan?
I don't believe so. I think they'd have to approve the entire plan.
But then you still wouldn't be able to sell off Lot 1 because we're holding it,
It would be a new plan.
a new plan.
You were asking whether it could be, just Lot 1 could be cut
Yeah,
off.
just that one
Yeah.
could be endorsed, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
it's like the whole plan,
It's
like an
all or nothing.
kind of situation.
I think we've already submitted this plan. We've done all the repro and everything and gone for the application of the plans and the Mylar. I think it would be less work to approve this plan because it's all been done, and take the chance that maybe we would have to file again down the road, as opposed to saying no, we absolutely are going to have to file again down the road.
Okay. Let's see. What's the thinking here?
I would vote to approve the plan as submitted, with the stipulation that we, after it's been signed, we hold on to it and not let it be recorded until the clarifications and completion that were talked about.
You all right with that?
Well, somebody gets to make a motion, somebody gets to
I know.
vote.
I'm just trying to get our
No, I mean,
ducks
I
in a
just
row
hope you
here.
understand my position, where I'm coming from, because
I do.
regardless, something else is going to have to happen here.
Well, not if they have the wetlands right and there's no vernal pool, right? So all we have is a piece of yellow notebook paper that says there might be something here, right?
Which is truly professional.
So at this point, it doesn't seem like it would do us any harm to do that if we have complete control of the document. And if, at the end of the day, everybody says that's what it is, then they're good to go, right?
Then I'll make the motion to endorse.
Okay.
I move to endorse as approval under the subdivision control law not required, a plan of land in Scituate, Massachusetts, showing a division of parcels 33-6-31, 33-6-16, and 33-6-16A, 35 Dreamwald Road, prepared by Morse Engineering Company, Inc., for the Susan A. Pippin Trust, revised, dated April 9th, 2015, as the division of the tract of land shown is not a subdivision because every lot shown on the plan has frontage of at least the distance presently required by the Scituate zoning bylaw on the public way of Dreamwald Road when the 50-foot frontage special permit approved by the ZBA is recorded. The plan shall be held in escrow by the town planner until proof of the recording of the ZBA special permit and common driveway special permit are furnished and the wetland line is approved by the Conservation Commission.
Good, second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to presenting the next phase of the project here.
Get them on that wetlands thing.
Well, we'll have a meeting with the Conservation Commission.
I absolutely do, absolutely do. I just think, it sounds like we have enough control over it that if, what I'm worried about is this paper. Or I got this.
Or is it just on the table?
That was just something.
Okay.
There's a whole monkey wrench into everything, so if he's right, then we'll have to fix it.
Yep.
That's all there is to it, right? Right, but if the line, I mean, he had a wetland scientist do it, so odds are that the line's going to be confirmed, we hope,
I
right?
don't absolutely know.
Yep.
But it's really the vernal pool. If that changes, it changes the boundary
That changes
significantly.
a lot of things, yeah.
Well, I mean, if we had maybe a little bit more definitive
Yeah.
statement. Welcome back, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have to sign these?
Turning the helm back to you.
No, I take that.
Do we have to stamp this?
At the end of the meeting, well, we usually do them at the end of the meeting, so just hang on.
We
to
just
them.
need to collect them, right?
Yeah, you can make a little collection of three.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is 61 Border Street.
You want a little update?
You want me to create the problem that you can solve, or?
The problem is-
Are we actually voting on this, Bill, or should I recuse myself from this one?
I think that this is an enforcement issue, and probably the best thing would be if you recuse yourself from it.
All right, in that case, I
I think
beg the board's indulgence, since I may be involved with this issue from the direction of the building department and the zoning enforcement office, that I will recuse myself.
I think
Thank you,
that's,
sir.
anyway. So on 61 Border Street, I received a call from Joseph Bonomi, he owns 53
Yeah, maybe it's 53.
53 Border Street, which is located downhill from 61. 61 is actually on Border Street. 62 has frontage on Border Street, but has a driveway that comes down behind 61.
Sure,
And
the road is. To the ocean side, or?
I think that's,
Gulf
yeah.
side.
the Gulf
On the
side.
Gulf.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, 61 is basically on Border Street, but has beautiful views of the Gulf side, and 53 has got beautiful views of the Gulf side. And what's happening is when 61 was approved, the stormwater permit basically specified that there would be a swale and a retaining wall to come back up and keep direct the runoff coming down the hill from going in across the driveway on 53. That swale and that wall had never been built. So Mr. Bonomi was very concerned over the fact that 61, both 61 and 53, which compounds that are both for sale, both properties are for sale. And what they're concerned is that with the recent storm rain that we have, the silting is just coming down on the driveway from 53, and basically it's making it difficult for him to sell his house. And so he came and said, asked if I would look into it, and to make a determination as to what we could do to make sure that 61 Border was built the way that it's supposed to be. At that point, I talked with Laura, I talked with Neil, and both of which had feedback from the Board of Health. To keep me relatively honest.
Yep.
Okay. And what the discussion was the one was to understand the scenario that was being presented. Option 2 was to come in back up and figure out what leverage that the board had or the town had to make sure that it was built properly. And the issue that it comes, there's also a Board of Health issue in the fact that apparently the septic system for 61 was built but not properly inspected. I don't know any more details than that, but I think that's about a Board of Health. So we have Board of Health is concerned over the septic system. We're concerned over the stormwater permit and having it constructed properly. And the power that the town has against it is, or over it, is the fact that there is no occupancy permit
For 61.
for 61.
So this is a relatively recent approval.
Yes.
Are they living there?
So this is the one we saw before, that it,
I don't think anybody's living there.
is this the one that had to go through the stone wall?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. Starting to remember it.
yeah. It was kind of a tight
Yeah.
lot, a very small lot, and they had to have they had to blast some ledge to get the septic system, and they managed to get everything in there, but it was a tight situation. My story is very similar to Bill's story. The abutter called us back over the summer. I went out, I looked at the property, the swale wasn't in, the stone wall wasn't in, called the property owner, and he did say he was going to put those in. His engineer told him it was necessary to put them in. This was all, email, so it's all public record and so on. And nothing has happened. So there's still problems for the property downhill, and I'm going out there on Tuesday with the owners and their engineer and the town's consulting engineer, who the owners are paying for his time. And I imagine, well, I don't want to, jump ahead to what that would be, but one of the things I think the board needs to think about is that on this stormwater bylaw, there are a lot of pretty significant issues involved where there's people living next to sites that are recently built on that are potentially going to be impacted by erosion or stormwater, and there's no mechanism for enforcing it other than using occupancy permits. But I think we might be able, the board might be able to tighten that up a little bit at some point. But right now, it is what it is, and we had talked about enforcement back when it first was going through approval, and I think the feeling was that it was so new, let's see how it works. So, that's just a thought that you might want to be thinking about that. But in the meantime, they're going to be coming in on the 23rd, the owners, and I imagine they'll bring their engineer with them. And we'll just have to, we'll have a report from, it's going to be Pat Brennan from Amory on what he finds.
What was the rationale now for it not being in? For it not being built?
We
To date?
weren't given a rationale. We were given the information that it was going to be built. It was going to be built shortly, but, that just didn't
Is
happen.
construction done?
Yeah, the house is all built, and, the hill is all, loamed and seeded, and there's no, the swale that's supposed to be there is not there. So I don't know what kind of...
And the retaining wall, whatever?
No, that wasn't put in either.
Did somebody ask for a variance from that, or change, or?
No, we were
Just-
never contacted.
It's still on the drawings, the way we approved it?
That's still on the drawings, yeah.
So how do you enforce something like that? How do you make them do
Well, we're
what they
using-
agreed to do?
We're using the occupancy permit
Yeah, hold it
right
until
now.
it gets done.
Yeah. I mean,
Is there a
it's-
temporary measure we can require them to do to protect the downstream abutter?
We could probably look at staking in some silt sock or, something
I
like
mean,
that.
just to
but
keep it off
there's-
his property, right?
He's got two problems.
Yeah.
He's got problems with silt washing down, and he's got
Uh-huh.
problems with water. So we could probably, hold the silt back, but the water, that's going to be That's going to be tough to do. So I think they have to figure out a way to get that swale in there.
Right, I was just thinking, they're gonna have to mobilize and get things built and all that, and in the interim, can we make sure that we do what we can to protect the property down below, or ask them to protect the property below?
Yeah, I think definitely, some protection is going to be possible. So, and I think you can usually construct those things pretty quickly once you get the engineering done.
Is there any way to fine someone for not doing what they're supposed to do, that they agreed to do?
We can't do that now. We could do that if I think you'd have to amend the bylaw to, go back to.
Got to amend the bylaw, and then we have to be a finable organization or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
So, I mean, it's got to go back to the general bylaw has to be changed, I think, so that we become a finable, that's the right term, or organization.
Enforcement organization?
There's something
some
called
kind of-
non-criminal disposition,
Yeah.
which
Uh-huh.
means you're giving someone a fine, but they didn't do anything that was criminal.
But
And
it's-
you might have to go to the legislature, I don't know what you might have to do, because the provisions of state law don't provide for a stormwater bylaw, because not many towns have them. So you might have to go through a lot of red tape, but you probably could eventually do it.
But the occupancy permit is a carrot.
It's a way, yes.
Pretty good sized
It's
hammer.
more of a stick than a carrot.
Pretty hard to sell a house.
It's virtually impossible to sell the house.
You can buy it, you just can't move into it.
Well, that helps.
Details.
It's no problem. I did
Small
that.
details.
I still have that problem.
So that's the story. So any questions on 61 Border? And we're going to see them at our next meeting?
Can you, I'm not sure if I can find the original drawings. Do you have something you can send us
Well,
electronically?
we have them here, but yeah, we can
Yeah,
find out
okay.
and send it.
And the purpose of their visit is just to say, we are going to do what
Well,
we said we
we
were
want
going
the
to do? or-
engineers to look at it and
Okay.
to, give us some kind of assessment that this is a serious thing, and you can't just come in and get it waived.
Yeah,
I guess that would be the choice, whether the planning board waives it or whether, they say, no, we're not going to waive it, you've got to build this thing.
yeah, it sounds like it's necessary, and it was on the original plan, so,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people do get things waived after the fact because it turns out it wasn't really all that important.
This is.
is it
Important.
aesthetics? Do you think maybe they didn't want the retaining wall and the swale in their backyard as they're looking out?
You wouldn't really see it from the house because
Okay.
it's over a hill. And,
Okay.
yeah, it's not where people are ordinarily going to go.
Are you in communication with them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Would you ask them when they come in, if they're not asking for a waiver, to come in with a game plan, a schedule?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
So the next item is use of standard conditions, and we got town meeting. Let's talk town meeting first.
Yeah.
That's-
Well, I apologize, but I'm not going to be here Monday. Unfortunately, I got called out of town, so I'm going to have to turn over the reading of the building height article to somebody else.
I think we have a volunteer, Bob.
Laura and I talked about that, and I said with Bill's permission, I would certainly take that on. Be happy to do it.
Bill asked Laura to talk with you, so I said I
Aha,
would submit
see?
to Karen and that is.
So,
We've got, the article's covered in terms of who's going to speak to it, and I think the handout shows both of the PowerPoints.
Yeah, I made copies of the PowerPoints for everybody. The first PowerPoint was a little over the top with writing. So I slimmed it down, and this is kind of the bare bones, but some of the written information, up to the two people presenting them, but there are some facts, and there are people for whom facts are really important.
this is far better, yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
really,
it's okay to have some verbiage, but...
I like it a lot.
You don't want to read this in the meeting, right?
Did a really good
Summarize
job
it.
of kind of capsulating this.
Okay, so we'll have the 2 PowerPoints, and there'll also be a handout. Will the handout be the PowerPoint?
No, I wasn't planning on that because then people are going to be bored when you bring out the PowerPoint. So I thought maybe just a 1-pager with everything you need to know, maybe 2 pages, but the table of what the surrounding towns do and the change and maybe the illustration. Maybe a picture on the cover of an accessory dwelling.
You want to see what these look like?
Yeah, next one.
So, I know you didn't want long, so we don't have long.
Didn't want what?
Well, some PowerPoints, I don't know who it was, CPC or whatever, but you just kind of
No, you don't want
getting a
long
little
here.
zoned out.
Oh,
Wanna-
we do zone out.
Want to get it and
Right.
So is this what we'll be reading here?
We are virtually
Yeah,
between
yeah, talking to-
adjournment for the last article or the last 3 articles before the adjournment, so.
We are?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, half of them will be gone by the time we get there.
Well,
Well, we'll see.
that's not a bad thing.
Well, the seawall comes after, the land
Oh.
swap comes before, so you're kind of sandwiched.
So we'll get those done, and then I think it's us, and then it's the zoning change for the golf club.
Yeah.
Golf course.
Yeah.
I think,
I'm sorry? So procedurally, what'll happen is the Board of Selectmen will make the motion. At that point, then, call on the planning board. Planning board will read the report for the public hearing. Indicate that a copy has been provided to the town clerk, and then come in and discuss the article, at which point that's where the PowerPoint.
Yeah, and you actually physically give it to the town clerk, who will be right behind you. So you turn around, give it to her, and then do your thing.
So that's the procedure. And then there'll be somebody that'll be running the PowerPoint. I don't know, is that somebody from the school running the PowerPoint?
I don't know, I wasn't at the meeting today, I don't know, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I know it's going to be town,
Okay.
so.
Yeah,
I
Kathy
mean, you can
told us.
run your own PowerPoint with a pointer, a laser pointer, you just click it at the screen, right?
Who voted against it on the advisory board?
I don't know.
I
Hazard a
I
guess
heard-
it was Anthony.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It sounds like a
I
certain...
think on the accessory dwelling, there was concern over that we would be regulating what it would look like when we sat there and said that it would have to look similar to the existing structure. I believe that was the case.
Laura, do you think it would make this "what do other towns do" slide more, or too busy if we had Scituate, or the proposed Scituate regulations on this, so you could see it right at
No,
the same,
that's a good idea.
right at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
yeah, I think that would be a great
You could
idea.
almost like wipe off Weymouth and just put Scituate on the bottom.
Yeah, we could do that.
And Quincy, for that
Nothing
matter. I don't think, I honestly think Quincy and Weymouth aren't analogous
No.
Oh, did we put those on?
to, our
It's right here.
situation.
Okay.
There it is.
That's the right word.
Oh, okay.
You don't need
Well,
those, guys.
Okay.
And then the handout would be what, a 1-page?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing, we usually do bright color paper, 1 page, maybe 2 pages, and that's it for each.
So getting those printed and distributed over, put on under the table?
The table's going to be out in the lobby.
Yep.
They don't want any handouts
Yep.
inside for,
Mhm.
some kind of legal reason.
Who reads the Article 19? Did we have a public hearing on that?
Article 19 is
Yeah.
the golf course.
Yeah.
I've got the report on it.
Okay.
That was handed in part of your handouts. So,
Yes, somebody's got to read the report on it.
I got it.
You got it, that's
Got it.
right. Yep. So, and you all need to vote that and sign it?
We need to vote.
You need to vote the PDD report. I don't know that we have a particular motion for it, but if somebody wants to move to approve the PDD report as written and distributed.
Just read this.
Yeah.
All right, move planning board report to town meeting, Article 19, amend section 490.3, plan development district permitted uses. The planning board hereby reports that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, a public hearing was held on this article on February 12th, 2015, at which time the public hearing was closed and the board voted unanimously to make a positive recommendation that the changes to the plan development district uses be approved as written at the 2015 annual town meeting. No abutters were present at or provided written input to the public hearing. The proponents also indicated that they would meet with abutters prior to town meeting. They reported to the planning board that there was no opposition to the zoning change. Based on the absence of disagreement, the addition of 8 condominium units appears to have little impact on the neighborhood. The zoning change is intended to allow application for improvements to the Scituate Country Club development, which would not otherwise be possible. The planning board supports this article.
Second?
Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ready to sign this?
So are there any other questions on town meeting? Town meeting's been posted. Any other questions on town meeting?
Nope.
Question to, I guess, Laura, is it still possible to tweak these just a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit? Okay. We haven't voted the exact wording of the PowerPoint.
No, I don't know if you need to
Nor
vote
will
that.
we.
Very good.
Just, you know, an artistic comment is, will that yellow show up when it's broadcast? It looked a little hard to read.
Oh, I changed all the white to black in the type.
Uh-huh.
If that's what you mean.
No, I just, when I saw it on the computer, it kind of was yellow, black, and it looked like it started to blend in a little bit. I don't know if the
Well-
contrast was enough for people, 50 rows back to read it.
One of the ones that I distributed, I think for this one, had white color type on like a green background,
Uh-huh.
and I changed all that to black so that it kind of comes out.
Okay.
Even on a good day, it's going to be hard to see. The gym is not designed for PowerPoints.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Just usually you want to have as much contrast
Yeah.
as possible.
Good point.
Okay. Then, the last item we got is to discuss the use of standardized conditions.
Yeah, I think at the end of the last planning board meeting, there was some discussion about how long those...
There was a mutiny.
There was, yeah, there was
I
a little
admit,
mutiny going on.
this is my fault,
It is? How is it your fault?
No,
because I raised the issue.
I raised it too, I just didn't do it in public. We've discussed it.
So there was a little discussion in the back room and a little discussion with town council, and it's perfectly okay for you all to have standard conditions on, say, common driveways, on special permits, that you just reference when you're reading the whole decision out. There'll still be plenty of reading to do. I'm aware of that. I'm trying to keep those conditions as direct and concise as possible, but there will be, still probably plenty of them. We also don't want to...
That's okay, right? I mean, because those are the important ones, right? I mean, we're going to tell everybody that they can only do construction from one period to another. I mean, so all the standard
Ones that aren't
stuff is
standard are the
fine,
ones
right?
that you want to highlight
Right.
and actually
It's
have
the ones
in
you
the
want to spend your
minutes.
time on.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we'll advertise those and have a public hearing on those and so on, and you'll just, be talking about standard conditions when we talk about those and not a particular project, so.
Right.
And so you're thinking of like a set of standard conditions for each kind of permit we write, basically?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, accessory dwellings have certain things that just
Right.
pertain to those, and,
Okay.
yeah.
Although that may be an interesting public hearing, because, one of our standard conditions, for example, is no work on Sundays and holidays. You may have contractors here who really would like would not want that to be a standard condition. In fact, would like to change that so that it becomes a different standard condition. So, there's going to be some discussion potentially.
There could be.
Yeah.
There's no reason that a standard condition, they couldn't ask to change it as part of a specific hearing, right?
No, that's true. I mean, it would only be the case where you'd want to make something standard other than what we would consider to be,
Yeah.
our
And then we would
our way to go.
leave it off. and
Right.
We're going to end up with one
Never mind.
standard
I don't want to.
condition.
I don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Forget it.
Unsuccessful in my attempt to sit there and have a whole process. In other words, have all the conditions that were written so that the board would have them, the applicant would have them, and the public would have them, and then you just go through item 1, item 2, item 3, and then they want to hold it, and do it that way. But apparently that was,
Well, I can see the efficiency of that, but there's some kind of, magic that happens when you actually say things out loud and they can be discussed and everybody can, weigh in on them.
well, they're not going to see
and that's
them
what
the
they
same way
want.
they're not going to see the standard conditions.
Well,
Anyway,
yeah.
I've conceded.
That was kind of the compromise.
I've conceded the point. I mean, I just think it's more efficient to hold it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I think you're right.
Something to think about, I think, at least, is that we put standard conditions on subdivisions, which are very good ones, or other conditions, whether you call them standard or not, which only apply to subdivisions because they have to come before us and therefore get conditioned. They don't apply to other construction activities within the town, single homes or, things that aren't subdivisions. Maybe there are zoning changes that we want to think about proposing at some point, which would make that, make those conditions more applicable. Things like work hours, things like light trespass off the site, things like noise trespass off the site, that would become then part of the standard for the town for any activity, rather than just the ones that we have jurisdiction over.
Well, that would mean a general bylaw, but
Right.
that would probably be fine
Right.
with some people.
Right, something to think about.
Have you seen other towns that kind of do it this way, where they have a set of standard conditions and then special conditions or something like that?
Not really,
No.
but, yeah.
it's a chance to be a line
Seems to be
leader.
okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, in point of fact, a lot of them are standard because you write them in every single decision, right?
Yeah.
So they are standard. It's just that what I was trying to avoid is having to read, 7 pages of it on, to read every single word, basically.
Well, I think we can put those at the end, and we can have them as part of a handout so people can see them, but you just wouldn't have to, we'll do the motion so that they're not, spelled out in the motion.
I mean, the attorney or the proponent would still be able to challenge one of those standard conditions, even though it wasn't read. I mean, you can,
Oh, sure.
Absolutely.
They could. I mean, I think if they're going to be looking for things to challenge, they're probably going to see all these other things first before they see those.
Yeah, it's unlikely, but procedurally, it's still possible to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you would leave it
Always.
open to, to potential variances or, to those standard conditions.
Sure.
If
Yeah.
the circumstances sort of dictated it.
Yeah, waivers or, whatever.
So shall we try it on, what, common driveway?
Well, you have to adopt them all for, you want to start with the common driveways? as-
Sure, let's
okay.
do it as we go instead of...
Because then I can, if we've got one coming up, right, which we do.
Yeah.
Then in effect, we come back up and just be able to test the standards, be able to identify which one of the conditions that we put out there, which ones of the conditions would be...
Standard.
Could have
Yeah.
the potential of being standardized.
Well, you're going to have to advertise, in advance, like you would for a public hearing, and pull everything together, and that hasn't...
You're going down a different track. You may
Okay.
get the same, what I'm suggesting is, we write the decision, assuming it's going to be approved for a common driveway.
Yeah.
So we write the decision and all the conditions,
Yeah,
right? And then we approve that. Then on a separate track, we come back up and make a
Flag those
determination.
things.
Which
Which ones is
one of
standard?
those have the potential of being standardized?
Right, and then we can develop the standard
And then we
and
can
publish it.
go from there.
Yeah,
So we can take a real case, use that as the example for standardization.
I think that's actually a pretty efficient way to do it, you know? That way you don't have to sort of write all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. If you're not going to hold them, that works. Okay, so we got a process for that.
Great.
Did we talk about, strike that. Have you talked about the 421 meeting? The 423 meeting?
oh, no, I haven't. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Trish has put out a memo, and she sent it out to all of the department heads. And what she's proposing is to have a meeting on 421. Is that right, 421?
Yep.
I believe it's 21st.
The 21st.
And basically what it is, it would be held down at the old Pier 44, the Harbor Building. And it would be, come back up to have a written description and representation from each of the committees. There's 30-some committees that are appointed within this town. In addition to that, you would have the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, the other boards, so that they would be able to present to the public kind of a brief presentation in terms of what they actually do, what their responsibilities are. So that way there you would know what beautification does, or you know what the Commission on Disabilities does. Yeah. And she, after she's kind of laid out the groundwork for it, and then she's made a suggestion that the board members would be available, to make themselves available at that.
7 o'clock, 7:30, that kind of thing?
I think it is 7.
6 to 8.
6. Okay.
6, okay.
Check my calendar, I think I put it down to 7.
6 to 8, that's right.
6 to 8. So if you plan to attend, and if you just let us know, that we can, do we have to post a meeting for that? I would,
I don't believe you do. I'll find out, but I don't believe you do.
we're not making a deliberation or anything, so.
No, I think when a board convenes at another meeting, I don't think you need to post a meeting.
We'll do it to make sure.
I'm not sure I agree, if you have more than 3, if you have 3 or more.
I think they've changed that, but
Okay.
I'll look.
Okay.
Thanks.
I don't want to be in violation of any open meeting laws.
Yeah.
So if you're asked to leave, because we
Leave.
haven't posted it, then you'll know why. Or you can assume that that's the reason. So, any questions on that? Anything else before we go to Bob's motion?
What's
That's
this?
standardization.
Yeah,
We have this ATRA plan, is that
Yes.
to be
Yes.
spoken about?
The selectmen voted it,
yes.
and that's going to happen.
In
It's,
June.
I believe in June.
Yep.
There was a lot of work that
does
led
it-
up to that.
How does it get, I mean, what's this frequency of?
Every 30
this?
minutes.
Every 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, Saturday,
And
Sunday? What?
Probably through the summer, it might be Saturday, possibly Sunday, Mara, in the summertime. And they're going to give it a whirl. And it's, for us seniors, it's 50 cents, and for the rest of you, it's $1. And it's one of those things, there's no bus stop per se. You just sort of wave and they stop.
So if I go for one stop, it's $1 to the first stop, and then $1 to the second stop,
Depends on which
and then $1
stop.
to get home?
Only if you get
Just for
off
you.
and then you get back on again.
Right.
Well, in my case, it's $0.50, but that's
Right.
okay.
Charlie on the MBTA here with Bill stuck on the...
On Gatra?
It's a better deal than the train ride.
Yeah.
It's got to have at least equally good as good management.
Maybe
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, really.
Anything would be
You pay
better.
the $1, you can keep riding and riding, just like
That's what I was
Charlie.
just thinking.
Yeah.
Nick could put me on the bus at the beginning of the day and pick me up at 5 o'clock. You know, if I just toured town.
We'll hand you a sandwich
Yeah,
midway.
exactly.
All right.
Anything else before we go to Bob's motion? I have a second to Bob's motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You abstain? standardize our adjournment policy.
Oh, wonderful.
It's Bob's
Hello,
motion.
Mr. Jordan.
Right.